Welcome to Third Chances, a talk show where we like to hear from people who devoted their life to health, fitness and wellness. Medical professionals, health coaches and all the others who help us every day to cure our body, mind or soul. Those who always look for more natural, holistic ways to help even more people to live a happier and healthier life. Those who don't like to give up easily and settle on you or themselves. It is never too late or too soon. I always believe that every one of us deserves not just a second chance, but as many as we need. I'm Vera, your host. Who better than a master of reinvention with an accent to guide you through it, right? Just like they say, you are not a tree, so move. And God knows I have done just that in my own life many times. If you are not completely happy with the direction your life is going, this show may help you get the courage to change what is needed, find a new path and take charge. So come on over, pour yourself a glass of wine and spend some time with us. Let's laugh and cry together and get inspired by people just like you and me who overcame their own doubts and took a leap of faith to reinvent their life on their own terms. I hope and pray that we help you on that journey. And if you feel so compelled and inspired, please let us know. Don't be shy. Who knows? You may just be our next featured guest with another inspiring success story. So here we go. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Third Chances. And for a change, I have a 54-year-old Irish supermodel joining us today. And of course, she was trying to be funny, but I loved it. Geraldine Murphy is my guest today, and she lives in the UK with her husband and two boys who are 12 and 9 years old. She's a relationship coach who helps women and couples uncover their magic in their relationship with their partner. Very promising. I have done this with myself with my husband, she says, and found it's much more fun to make struggling relationship work than to get divorced, which I have also done. So I bet she's experienced and she knows what she's talking about. So we are in for a treat today. Welcome, Geraldine.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me here.
And as you know, I already told you I love the British accent, so it's always special treat because you guys sound so more sophisticated, you know?
Oh, yes. We've heard that. I mean, you want to hear it from over this side. We don't sound that sophisticated at all.
Yeah, but we have been chatting before when we were planning this podcast, and so I shared with Geraldine that I really love the sarcasm of British, comedians and Monty Python and all that style. That was really most of my life because I lived in Europe, but still to these days I am following certain stand-up comedians online, and I just love it. So it's a special treat for me too. So tell me,
Absolutely.
how did you get to this type of work? And was it always in your mind, even when you came out of school, or did it gradually get there?
Yeah, no, not at all. I think as a child, I wanted to be a vet until I realized that you'd have to put animals down. And then I thought, oh, that's not for me. I was really thinking of,
helping.
Yeah, I thought, I thought, no, that I'd be out the door the first day I had to do that. So, and really after that, I was a child of the 80s, and there was lots of, flashy suits and slick back hair and briefcases, and I thought I'd be part of that, living in London and being single and having lots of, lovers, but no one-time person. That's what I thought when I was about 15. That's what I thought my life was going to be like as I got older.
Sounds promising.
Would have been brilliant fun, but I didn't do any of that. And then I got married quite young. I actually went to do art in university in Liverpool, graphics, and I got married quite young.
That didn't fit into plan.
No, I don't know why I did. I was just like, I moseyed along. It was one of those, where you just kind of, I didn't really want to get married, but I kind of just did. And then very shortly afterwards, realized my husband was gay.
Oh,
And I mean, really
surprise.
quite shortly afterwards, he after about 8 months, we'd split. After getting married, which is really disappointing for the parents and everybody's been to the
Oh
wedding
yeah,
and
yeah,
you haven't even
absolutely.
had your first Christmas card.
But wait a minute, as you were dating, you didn't see any signs? It was normal?
I was 24, um, educated by nuns. And you're not very good at those. Do you know what I mean? I was green as really. Um, with hindsight, yeah. Everybody else was like, oh yeah. And obviously, yeah, you didn't think to tell me. But I
It's
mean, in
usually
fairness,
the, everybody else seeing signs but us, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I even had people tell me later on, yeah, you were really kind of innocent. And you're like, thanks. So anyway, yeah, so that didn't really work out. I
Mm.
mean, I got a house, so that wasn't too bad.
Wow, that's
But
good.
I know. Well, that was the plus side of it. Buying a house in the when was it? It was the mid 90s, and you bought a house, and then if you were in trouble like 6 months later, then the house wasn't worth any more than when you bought it. It was probably worth less. So it was easier for me to keep it and rent rooms out and keep myself afloat that way. But I still have the house, so
That's good. Yeah.
kudos to me.
Nice memories of a young
Yeah,
child.
exactly.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so then obviously that was a bit of a body blow to me. And I didn't get married again for years and years and years later. But I did actually meet my husband quite soon after I split up
Mhm.
with my first husband. And yeah, he was a very, very different person to the first husband, obviously.
So what was stopping you from getting remarried? Did you worry that you might mess it up because of the paper or?
I suppose I didn't see any reason to get married, and I wasn't even sure if I saw that much of a reason to get married the first time. Um, yeah, we ended up getting married after the kids were born, and well, after our first child was born. And we actually got married because we kind of toyed about, we thought, yeah, but couldn't justify paying for a wedding. It's horribly expensive.
It is,
And it was
yeah.
like, I'm not going to spend 8, 10,000 pounds or whatever stupid amount of money on a wedding. I'd rather, invest it in a property.
Mhm.
um, but we decided then it was weird because it was actually a tragedy that prompted me to for us to get married. It was we lived in a place called Machynlleth in Wales, and a little girl was taken and murdered. And it was a very small town, and I just thought, why are we waiting? After that had happened, and it sort of really crushed our town, and it was just devastating to everybody. The poor family, it was really awful. So, and then I thought, let's just get married. What's the point of waiting? And we did it. We within a month we got married. We had our reception. We had cakes and coffee in the local coffee shop and walked up, and it was like just really tiny, and
Yeah.
walked around the tree and had our photographs taken in the registry office, and it was really lovely. And my family actually they surprised us by coming over from Ireland on the boat. I only told them the day before.
Oh
And
wow.
they all, I know, and they all jumped on a boat and came over to see us, and they surprised us on the morning. So that
That's
was
nice.
really, really special, actually. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's the one point when you said like you don't want to invest stupid amount of money into wedding.
yeah,
You don't have to, you
no,
know.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes especially if you're younger, you feel pressurized to spend money. There's like, oh, are you going to have to? Especially, I mean, I don't know what it's like over there, but if you're Irish, all the relatives, it's probably changed. But when I was getting married the first time, it was like people had to be invited. I mean, people you don't like, that live in a different country, or that, you know what I mean? There's everybody like, I don't even know them. The last time I met this person, she was rude to me. Like, now I have to invite her to my wedding.
The traditions.
It's like, I'm not going to see these people for the day, you know. And weddings always annoyed me because they were like, they're always for everybody else. They say it's about the bride, or the bride's mother, or
the bride
whoever.
is the last one. Yeah.
She's just running around saying hello to people, and like in this really tight-fitting dress that's really not that comfortable, not really allowed to get drunk or cry or do whatever she wants to do. You know, it's all about like, you know, paying for this massive party for everybody else. So so I'm not really.
So you are ideal love coach.
Perfect. I mean,
absolutely ideal.
Don't be put off, anybody.
Right. So
I'm talking myself into a hole here.
Oh no. I'm joking. But so I'm assuming at that time you were still not doing what you do today?
No, I wasn't. No, at that time I was a graphic artist. Well, I say I was a graphic artist. I was making things for print. So I was working in a print factory or print company, and yeah, I was converting other people's images for print. So it was I'd studied and gone to university to do that, and then when I came out and I started it, I think I was about 4 months in, and I was like,
bored to tears
for the rest of my life. So I knew I wasn't going to stay at that for too long. Sorry, I had to use colourful language. You can edit it out.
I didn't hear this. So
okay. Fine. Nobody else will have. So yeah, I'd realised that anyway, sorry, you would probably want me to get to the point some point. So
no, I want to know what went through your life to
my path
eventually land you where you are today. So it is interesting because we hardly ever do the first chosen career for the rest of our life, even though I remember the trauma I had when they kept asking me, what do you want to be? And I look at it like, if I say something now, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I was freaking out about it. You know,
well, funny enough, my son, who's 9, is supposed to get dressed up in whatever uniform he's planning on being for the rest of his day in his job. He's going to do that next Monday or something like that. And I was like, don't worry about it. You know, you can change. You don't have to be. So he was like, well, now I'm going to be a zookeeper.
Relief. Yeah. We were not told that at my childhood. We were just say, well,
choose it.
Something. You strive to be the best at it. Yeah. And then you just spend, I don't know, next 50 years perfectioning it. I was like,
yep.
That
doesn't sound fun.
Yeah.
What age were you when that happened? What age would you have been when you were supposed to do that?
Like before 15. You know, before we left the grammar school, that we were constantly asked, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? Because then now based on that, you have to choose the right school, and then and it was so overwhelming for me, because I seriously thought, whatever I say now, that goes, that I have to follow that path.
It's a big decision, isn't it?
Then? Yeah, and I couldn't decide.
No, and here you are.
It's the farthest from the truth.
Exactly. I know there's so much pressure on kids to pick the right thing, and you think, oh, really? Can I just still be a dolphin?
Yeah, exactly. Can I just be like playing a little bit for
butterfly or fairy
so
or something?
So you left, or did you do the graphic design for a while? How long did you stay?
I did that for not that long. I did it for probably 2 or 3 years, and then I was quite bored with that, and I have like such a short attention span, really. And I went went into sales. I left that job and I started selling bits of paper, cards, like an A4 card. Do you have A4 in America? Is A4 a measurement? Anyway, it's a normal letter type size piece of paper, and I sold that on the street for like £40, and it was like an invitation type thing to go into a hair salon, get your hair blow dried and your colors done and a head massage. And I sold them on the street. and then went into hospitals and sold them and got chucked out of hospitals because I wasn't really meant to be there. And it was great fun. And I was really good at it. So I did sales for a few years, 2-3 years, and I ended up running my own office doing that.
But what did you like the most about the selling part?
Well, some of it was quite exciting when you were trying to dodge security in a hospital. I know it's a little bit naughty and maybe a bit.
That's why you like it.
And I'm not really a lawbreaker.
Your 80s child came in, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But it was so funny. I mean, one of my best memories is going to a place, going in the hospital. I'd done so many sales that people were starting to look for me because they wanted to buy the invitations off me. I was like hot, you know, and I called to this one office, and this woman, she was chatting to me. She was really friendly, and she said, "I just want to check to see that you're allowed to be here." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely fine." She went and made the call, and I sat down, and she said, "Somebody's going to come because she said make the call. She'll make the call." And then I said, "Do you mind if I just go to the loo?" Knowing full well I wasn't supposed to be there. So I'll be back in a minute. And then
and there you were.
The loo and never came back, and just moseyed around the hospital looking for more people to sell to. Later on, I buzzed on this door, and I said, "Oh, hi, I've been told to come here from X-ray. All the girls are getting hair done there, or whatever." And then this was the woman that the other woman had been phoning to check if I was allowed to be in there, and she's like, "You're not supposed to be here. You should." This is about 2.5 hours later, and it sold nearly all my invitations. And I was like, "No problem, I'll go." But on the way out of the hospital, there was a creche, which is also run by the hospital. Oh. So naturally, I stopped there and sold about 3 more invitations. And while I was there, she must have thought, "I bet she's gone to the creche." She phoned the creche and she said, "Can you just please leave?" And I was like,
"You are bad."
Oh, it made me laugh so much. She must have really had her knickers in the twist. But God, it made me laugh. It was so funny. Yeah, so
I bet that's what you like the most about it, just to be like, "I'll show you."
An anarchist, but like harmless, you know. I mean, you know, not doing any harm. And I would always leave a place if I thought I would never compromise somebody's care.
Yeah.
So if I felt that there was a situation, I was out of there, I would be like, "Look, I will call back, or I'll come back. I will leave you a number and you can get this from our office." But I would never have gotten involved with, you know, just being really, you know, causing a danger. And that's not what it was about.
But that's funny because you can
fun.
You know, I have been dealing with people because I was previously coaching on sales, and I would be dealing with 99% of women that had such a hard time with selling, and they would always look at it like, "Oh, I don't want to be seen like sleazy and, you know, pushy and everything." Yeah. You made it a game. You made it fun.
Oh, it was
like
hilarious.
You made it, like, play. Yeah.
Well, I had this other thing as well, and I noticed it. There was a couple of things I did in sales, and this would be interesting for some of your sales girls, is going into an office. It might have even been in that hospital because I was really hot that day. And I went into this office, and there was like 20 people in it, and it was buzzing, you know, it was really, really quite noisy. And I started pitching, and I lowered my voice to a certain pitch, and gradually around the office it started to go quiet, and people started to turn up to where I was. Yeah. And I more or less ran out of my invitations that day because everybody had one. You know, they just bought because it starts with a bit of a frenzy, really. And that was when I realized the power of your voice and the pitch, and how you can command. And I've been using it. My mom's actually in hospital at the moment. She's very hard of hearing. And I've been using my voice to try and get through so she can hear just my voice. So then in ophthalmology now they think I've got a magic voice.
No, that's wonderful, because it's very true. You can catch attention by screaming, trying to overpower the room, or doing the opposite and force them to pay attention. Yeah.
Yeah, and people start to lean in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting
Yeah.
using the quality of your voice and the pitch to get attention.
So what then? You were
Oh
successful in
yes,
selling, and
yes. And I then trained my husband to sell, because I left the company and I started it up on my own then. And I trained my husband to sell the invitations, the same invitations, so he could leave his job. He worked out how many invitations he'd need to sell to cover his income, and he did that, and he was like my best ever student. So I trained him up, and then after that, oh my God, it's such a long road. I opened a letting agency because we bought a couple of properties. We bought some rental properties, and I was managing them, and found that the letting agents weren't really all that good. So I started my own letting agency, and then I sold that when I had my second child. And then after that, it was really around that time. My dad got ill, and he was sick for sort of 5 years. This was, yeah, it was 5, 6 years from when I got married. And so he came to the wedding, but by 6 years later, I think he must be about right when he died. And so it was just, and I was also kind of menopausal at the time, which I didn't realize, and it was all a bit like not good. I want to swear, but it just wasn't a good time, you know.
yeah.
And when he died, my sister said, my older sister said, you know, I might only have 27 years left, because his dad was 27 years older than her. She didn't say it in a negative way.
Yeah.
She didn't say it. It was like, this is an opportunity. If I've only got 27 years left, what am I going to do with them? And that really made me think, oh my God, this is it's possible. You know what I mean? He wasn't an old man, but he wasn't a young man either. And after that, it was kind of when somebody is very sick for a long time, and you keep hoping that they'll get better, and it's very, very hard. I mean, I always think hope is kind of a cruel thing in some ways. And when he did eventually die, we were all kind of, it was just very exhausting, and it was a weird thing, because I felt, I didn't feel bad about it, because I knew I wasn't being mean or wrong or anything like this. I felt euphoric after my dad died, and I absolutely loved him dearly. Like, so it wouldn't, it wasn't anything too great, I'll get money now or anything. It wasn't like that. It was
More
just
like a relief
yeah, he
from
wasn't
that uncertainty that
yeah,
was,
he wasn't going to hurt, and that he was free of it, wherever he was, or whatever had happened, he was free from this, and we were free from the worry of something horrible happening, his final, his end being painful, or so yeah, so it was quite strange, because I was like I'm a very inappropriate person. I will joke at the worst time. I mean, people look at me at Dad's funeral, and they were like, but I know if Dad was sitting there beside me, he would have understood.
he would probably have loved it.
He would have been the same way. He would have been like, but he probably would have been less, because it was bubbling out of me a little bit, because I'd done a reading at the funeral, and my mum didn't really think that girls would do that kind of thing. We're very Irish. She thought the boys might be able to do a reading, but she didn't think the girls would be. She thought we were too emotional. And my sister actually sang on her own at the funeral, which is like, an amazing, a feat, really. So there was all that as well. There was all that stress from that too. So, but anyway, after that, I sort of, we watched a Tony Robbins Netflix thing, I'm Not Your Guru. And I'd been reading Tony Robbins years and years ago, and I really liked the NLP stuff, and I just liked some of the crazy stuff. It was just like out of the box thinking, and so we went to see Tony in London. Went to a 4-day event, and it was a game changer for us. It just pulled us out of ourselves really quickly. Whereas, we could have gone on in doldrums for another 2 years, and we didn't. We just like totally got immersed in this crazy 4-day event, walking on fire, and just it's just jumping around. And from that, finally, I trained as a coach.
Well, so you did the Tony Robbins coaching training.
I did that, but I also went on to yes, I did Tony Robbins training. Is that what you did?
Yes, yeah.
That's what you did. Yes, yeah. And then I went on to Mark and Mike Lee Patience.
Yes.
So that was that was the relationship coaching that I did from that. Yeah.
Since you are the example of perfect relationships. No, I'm being sarcastic, but I'm being truthful, because you don't learn about issues in relationship by having a perfect relationship, unfortunately. It's when you go through problems and when you go through different experiences that enriches you so much to be able to help people that are going through some issues.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we've had, we've done it ourselves. We've had difficult times ourselves, and really, there's been times where we thought, are we gonna survive this, really? And so we got coaching ourselves, and it's made a world of a difference. I mean, me doing relationship coaching has helped, but if you think you're going to coach your partner, you're not.
Nope.
You can forget about it. You think you've got free coach in the house? No, it's not like having a free hairdresser.
It's very different. Yeah, it's very different dynamic. That's not gonna work well. Yeah, but I like the way that you actually realized the kind of urgency in your life suddenly because your dad passed, and what your sister said, because it's usually that one moment that we kind of start realizing, I'm just browsing through life, no matter how successful you were, and you were, you were fine. There was no like significant issues, I'm assuming, but you get to point when you feel that urgency. It's like, is this what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life? Is this all there is?
Yeah.
And then you start to having this like, is this me? Is this what I want to be? That's gonna be my legacy. You start giving yourself bigger questions, and it comes to people in different points of life. But how old were you when your dad passed?
I was how long was that? I was 48. Yeah. So
and you also have a child quite late in your life, which was also experience on its own.
Yeah. My youngest, I had him when I was 45. Which is,
perfect.
Great, really. I mean, apart from the doctors, they got a bit concerned, but then you tend to make an extra effort just to be like, go in for your scans.
Yeah, keeps you young.
Jeans.
Yeah, you have to watch this on YouTube. You realize that, because Geraldine makes faces, and it's impossible to see it on podcast.
This is the start of it. I'm a terrible face puller. And this is toned down. These are, but I have some really bad ones, but I won't do that to you.
It's okay. I love it.
Maybe on our next one.
So how did you pick your specialty in coaching? What prompted you to go to relationships?
I think Mark and Magali, they have such a beautiful way about them. Tony, when you see the coaching with Tony, it's there's a bit of showbiz in there for in the training that you get, and I think he can be quite tough on women sometimes, and that kind of winds me up. I mean, I'm not that I'm soft on women, but I find the very masculine energy when he sees a woman giving masculine energy. I find it like it's sometimes I find that a little bit difficult to deal with. Whereas I feel there's more
he
of a
can
flow.
turn people off. But I didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me unless
Mm.
there's something unresolved in you that it triggers, of course, which
Yeah.
happens to all of us. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
he's very equally tough on people when it comes to
that's
when he
probably
can
my
see
reading,
through when he can see through their bull.
Yeah.
Then he goes
Yeah, yeah.
after it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
was kind of attracted
Sometimes,
to it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I did think it was so radically different. I think it's because I've been down the path with Mark and Magali, and it's more,
Absolutely.
it's a kind of a softer, more
Yeah.
collaborative. It's different because the way I'm coaching isn't, I don't coach off a stage. Do you know what I mean? The people that go to see Tony Robbins are there, they're ready
Yes.
for change. They're not afraid of what he's going to throw at them, and he wants to get them big results. So that's,
And also
you know,
don't
it's a
forget
different
the bits you see, it's possibly 2-3
out of
days
context.
into events when
Yeah,
they were being fed all the, open your mindset,
yeah,
the good stuff. So you are not unprepared for that. You went through some transformation already, and
yeah,
obviously it's for show. But what I understood, Magali and Mark and her mom,
yeah,
she developed the trainings around his teaching because
absolutely.
he didn't have anything like that. He was just doing it very intuitively, and he was doing it brilliantly and had results. But he never had any system in place that, like, he was intuitive. He wouldn't do like following tools, but they, watching the hours and hours and hours of material, they've actually developed the system around his way of doing it, which was fabulous. Yeah. And you're right, Magali is completely peaceful meditation, very calming presence. I love her. Yeah.
Yeah. No, they are lovely. And I mean, Tony Robbins he's a master. What he does, he really is. I just sometimes when I'm doing it, because I go back between the two, I go between Tony Robbins trainings and Magali and Mark's, and I find I'm drawn just because of the people that I would be dealing with. I'm not gonna go down the Tony Robbins route with the relationship coaching that it's just it's not appropriate for what I would be doing. So that's more what I'm saying really, rather than
but it's also fascinating because we all resonate towards certain type of people, and that's why there are multiple coaches coaching on same thing, but every single one will be doing it differently. And when you are in position that you may realize you want to coach or you want to see what it would look like, you start looking at people, because that's the person you have to be completely comfortable with, because there's some deep work involved. So if you don't resonate with that person, you're not going to open up. So that's what I love about it, because there's multiple coaches on same subjects that are completely different. And if you looking, and we all have coaches ourselves, because we don't want to be just average. We want to excel in what we do. And when you want to excel, you need somebody to look from the outside and point out your blind spots, because that's impossible to do for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I love the coaching industry, because not everybody's ready. And one of my friends very smartly says, nobody needs a coach. Nobody. It's totally up to you. But if you want to stay where you are, if you didn't move forward directions that you want to, there is a reason for it. And maybe if you don't want to stay there, maybe you need to kind of swallow your pride and seek the ways that can propel you, speed up that process, make it less painful, and actually help you guide much easier way to get what you want than trying for another 30 years painfully on your own and being disappointed, which most of us went through that process.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that this time is now the coaching time. The UK is probably a little bit even behind America for coaching, because there's always, there's been therapy has been very acceptable for years and years, whereas in Ireland and England, therapy, you're maybe cuckoo.
Weird. Yeah, you're
which
weird.
is like,
yes, if you need
which is
therapy,
not,
you are weird.
yeah, yeah. So that's not really, a very positive way to look at it, let's say. So coaching, I think, is a bit behind, but now, I mean, I think it's like using Zoom calls for this kind of thing. We're on opposite sides of the world, and why not use what is available to you to really we can almost be superhumans, well, we can, like Thomas Edison, I'm going to totally misquote this, but if we knew what we were capable of, we would literally astound ourselves.
That's
And
right.
so coaching is something that helps people to do that, because we don't need to do what our parents and our grandparents and our great grandparents did. We have much more availability of information and how the brain works and how relationships work, and we have technology that connects us all. It's just like a very exciting time to be alive.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fascinating when you talk to people and they don't even realize how they talk to themselves. And because we do so much more on autopilot these days, like we just go through. I was just thinking, I have my cat. She wants to be in a picture every single time I record podcasts.
She's a supermodel too.
She needs to be in a picture, just so you know. But I was realizing this morning, she was cuddling with me in a bed, and we had some really hard winds, and I think she was probably a little worried what it did, because she doesn't always cuddle with me. And this time she didn't want to leave my side. And I kept listening to the winds, and I was petting her, and I was kind of immersing myself in that moment. I was like, how wonderful that I have this animal that loves me and that she feels protected with me and stuff. And then I realized how often we do something and our mind is elsewhere. You petting your cat and you're already stressing out about things that you have to do in 2 hours or tomorrow, or something that already happened and you can't do anything about it. This is what we do to ourselves. So it is interesting to start catching yourself what you do, and sometimes write it down and maybe realize, would I talk like this to my best friend? And it's big eye-opener.
Absolutely. If there was something that I could do, if I was making say if I had enough free time that I could just do something. We've just finished refurbing our house, so we're still kind of paying for it, so I got to work still. But if I could do something just to help the world, if I could eradicate negative bias in schools, if I could help kids to realize that text that came in, you're misreading it, you're reading it with negative bias, and understand what negative bias is about. And then it's just because we've got a bit of dinosaur brain left in there that's trying to save us from a tiger or some non-existent danger. And if we could just realize, no, that's negative bias. And all it is taking that muscle and working it and working it and working it. Every time the negative bias shows up, you overwrite it, because you can kind of scribble overwrite these things. If you could do that for a generation, we would be a very different place in the future.
You're absolutely right. And especially today, with the age of social media, where poor kids are being drawn into it, comparing themselves with others, not realizing this is virtual reality. That picture took 500 tries before it was perfect, and you don't see what went behind scenes. You only see the so-called result that may not even be real. And based on that, they are judging themselves even more harshly. And it's really scary. And I agree with you 1,000,000%. That would be probably the most powerful thing we can do for kids. And I don't know why, in the educational system, there is no space for this, because we have the depressions, like, no matter how perfect kids had it today, they are more depressed, more anxiety driven, more sadly even suicidal. And sometimes before the family catch on, it's too late, which is really horrific, because it's such a waste of human life. And you're right, it's all the mindset. It's all in the mind. It's all what we allow to shape us, what we allow to be influenced by, and what we believe it's true. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's hard because kids, if they go home and tell their parents about this, parents also have the negative bias because it's in us. It's natural.
Yeah.
It's just part of us. But just going back to the social media, that could just as easily be flipped and used to correct this wrong, which is negative bias. And it's not wrong. It's just something we need to evolve out.
Yeah.
We're almost there. We could actually evolve negative bias out of ourselves and look at things in a logical, use our brains instead of this little bit at the back there. This, that sort of jumps in when you want to make a decision, or you want to, or you get a text off somebody, or somebody doesn't do something as you expect them to, so you automatically jump on, they don't care, or they're busy doing something else or whatever. And
look at us, we met through social media, so I'm grateful that I have an opportunity to meet somebody from UK, sitting here in my home in Florida.
Exactly.
So it's been brilliant. Like every tool can be used for brilliance or for negativity. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like food. But how do you apply this teaching into your coaching? How does it look when you work with couples? How do you approach it?
Well, it's very, very tailored to individuals, because I tend to find out a lot of the people, it's a lot of women that I tend to work with, and they if they're maybe either the kids are leaving home, and you've got this person in the corner who's been sat there for the past 25 years, and they're like, who is it? Who's this? Why is he still here? And I think sometimes people think that it would just be easy to not have that person there. I don't mean, kill him or anything. I mean, from just to leave.
Yeah, let's not go there. Yeah.
But it's I think they think that life would just be easier if that person wasn't there, and if they just leave, or they ask them to leave, then it would be all hunky-dory, and it won't. There's a whole heap of other things that happen around separating, and I think a lot of people don't really consider that when they just see this person in the corner who's annoying them. All they can see is that, and only the benefits of them going.
Mm-hmm.
And when you actually start looking at the negative side of split, you think of, okay, what's going to happen to the house? Where are the kids going to go? Who's going to come to us at Christmas? Where are we going to go on holidays? Yeah. What's going to happen with the finances? Do we have a business together? Do we have other property together? Who's going to take the dog? Who's going to look after the grandparents if there are grandparents? Are the grandparents going to blame one or other of us? Are the kids going to blame one or other of us? Are the kids going to carry this forward to their relationships in the future? Is this giving them a legacy to expect that they won't stay together and they won't work at relationships? Now, that may sound a bit harsh, but it's definitely something that needs to be considered.
Yeah,
because
it's never that simple. Yeah,
it's a big deal to leave. And actually, I think if you've been together for 20 years or 10 years or whatever number of years, and you're considering, it's a bit meh, it's a meh type of situation now, don't get coaching, because you can devote another 6 months to it, and you can make it into something amazing, something better than it ever was at the start, because 9 times out of 10 it's a communication issue. And
isn't it funny when people realize that love is actually there to be nourished, that you have to take care of it? It's not just gonna be there because you want to.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, a pet wouldn't be like that, would you? If you had a pet and you thought, well, I'm not going to feed it, I'll just come back to it every now and again when I think of it, and if I'm cold, I'll have it on my knee, but the next time you go and get it, it's dead.
Exactly. Yeah.
You devote time into anything that's worthwhile in your life. And same with, business, your job. You think people go to a job every day and they hate it. And you think, well, why don't you devote some time and energy to your relationship? It doesn't make sense to me, really.
Especially when it's the most important thing at the end, when you think of it, because no matter what you have, no matter what you own or money or everything, doesn't matter when you don't have anybody in your life to share it with. And I don't mean that single people cannot be happy, but sometimes you realize that it's the most valuable thing to have wonderful relationships in your life. That doesn't have to be your spouse only. It can be your kids, your family, your friends, but it's important. It's who we are. We really need relationships in our life. To be fulfilled.
And often I think, absolutely. And I think we get quite complacent about, a relationship with your partner, whereas you wouldn't talk to maybe your sister or your best friend the way you might talk to your husband or wife.
So true.
Like, why do they get the worst of you? Really, you kind of promise to give them your best. I know that's difficult.
I think we take it for granted a lot. Yeah.
And I think it can be quite a shock if you do split and then you think, actually,
nothing changed.
They weren't that bad.
Right. Yeah.
I wish I hadn't. It's.
So do you mostly work with one of the couple, or you work with them together as well?
Mostly work with one person. Very often it's the women, because somehow it often seems to be the women that are the ones. I mean, they probably resonate with me more than men do anyway, because you tend to go and find the person that you click with more. But women tend to be, I hope nobody shoots me down, but they tend to be the keepers of a relationship, in my opinion.
So people that have intention to work on it.
And maybe, yes, yeah. And I think sometimes women maybe notice parts of it, or maybe feel more empowered because they talk more with friends, and they sort of they maybe start seeing flaws more. I know I'm generalizing here, but women too tend to talk to their friends more than men talk to their friends about relationships. I think that's starting to change a bit, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if men will ever out-talk women in friendships.
I must say that my husband was my best friend, my best girlfriend. That it depends on a relationship, of course, but I was blessed to have someone in my life that I was more open with him than any of my friends or sisters or family. It's just we were so naturally great fit together, and I actually owe him a big deal for building me up, because at the beginning of our relationship I didn't have any confidence. Sounds funny today, but he was probably my first life coach when I look at it, because he had that patience and that never ending trying to build me up and trying to help me understand that how I see myself, it's not how I am.
My husband is also my best friend, and over the years he has definitely built me up, especially at the start of our relationship, because I had been dumped by my gay husband, which is unfortunate and rather crushing experience.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I can look back and laugh now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't do your ego any good, really, when you're 26. So he was a very, very lovely and complimentary. Mind you, I have to really remind him to compliment me now. We have a running joke about, I'll be like, do I look nice? And he was like, yeah, I think you look really nice. I said, want to just keep that to yourself then. Don't make any compliments, whatever you do.
Yeah.
They'll just go to my head. So that's our running joke anyway, where I have to pinch him to compliment me. But
that's the fun having a really good partner, when you don't have to mince your words, and you really have that perfect dynamic between.
Oh no, I'm blunt, and I'm terrible for, but blunt in a nice way. I would call him all kinds of bad names, like such a shocking way that he laughs his head off, that it really just keeps things kind of funny and fresh. Because they're words that you wouldn't really want to use on your husband, but I do.
Well, hey, whatever works. So, do you want to share, and without revealing, of course, any identity of anybody, but would you like to share some maybe most touching experience that you felt really that you have been successful as a coach, that empowered you back, that you felt really great, that you may have helped somebody significantly?
Yeah, I have somebody that I coached a while ago, and she was very, very successful. She's a nurse, but she's a very, very successful nurse, and she's having difficulties with a disorder, an eating disorder, and actually put herself in some significant danger when she was out. She almost choked, making herself sick when she was out in a loo, public toilet. So it would have been awful, like, for her family. And I remember saying to her, after we'd been coaching for a little while, because she did 2 daughters, and she was working really hard and being everything to everybody, and saying to her, that she needs to become the person that she wants her daughters to be. And did she want her daughters to be working the way she was working? Was that really what she had in mind for them? And it was really
hurt. Yeah,
it was a significant. It's not really meant to be a kick in the
Yeah, no, it is.
It's a reframe, and it's like, oh my God, I think I'm
light bulb.
Yeah, and it changed so much for her, really. She's had long-term significant improvement in her all over in her life, and much more accepting of herself as well. And I feel like that's a real win, because she's such a lovely person, and she was struggling so much, and it was stuff that she could be fixed, and it was fixed easily.
I think that's brilliant to go there, because you really want to see some bigger reason than yourself.
Yeah.
To change anything about what is going on, because you have your stories and you have your excuses and you know why you're doing it and blah blah blah, but what you did for her, you kind of gave her the mirror. This is how your daughters see you.
Yeah.
Do you want them to follow? And suddenly it's not about you, suddenly it's about people that you love the most, and it's that's brilliant. Yeah,
and it's something that just you can kind of you can pull it out of the bag now and again. And it's something that's just like, and it struck me at that time because I was a relatively new coach. And I thought, really, it's such a, it could have been a tragedy.
Yes.
And our kids could have carried that. This happened, it was so close to it being her dying. Oh God, toilet. What does that do to your children? And that's, if that isn't a slap in the face, but it wasn't enough. That wasn't enough. It was that realizing what the impact of the way she feels about herself is having her children.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a real win, and I kind of carried that with me as, oh my God, I had an impact on somebody's life that's really going to have an impact on their life and their kids' life and their kids' lives. That feels amazing.
Yes, that's the moment when we hear the, oh my God, I never thought of it this way. Right? That's when people start using their brain to actually see it from a different perspective and realizing what they are doing to themselves. Because you have, like I said, you have your stories, you sometimes, unfortunately, even comfortable in that situation. You already are used to it, it's your certainty. And possibly it's giving you some satisfactions in certain areas, but realizing what it does to people around you or stuff, it's really powerful. Yeah.
It sort of pulls you out of that scenario. You're in this little loop that it's just a pattern you do over and over, and suddenly you think, actually, I'm being a bit self-indulgent here. Let's get out of here and do something different, because this is, this isn't going anywhere. I'm just doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And that's really, that's like, the decision to stop smoking. It's that whatever that thing is, that keep doing, and something clicks, and you think, right, would they have an ad here actually? And it's for same sort of thing for smoking, but it's in the hospital, because I keep going into the hospital all the time to visit them. But she's not a smoker, by the way. But they have this poster inside the door, and it's this kid who looks about 11 or 12, and he's got really sad face, and he's like, I don't want you to give up smoking because I don't want you to die. And you're like, oh, and that must be such an amazing sort of impactful message to parents who smoke.
Yeah, shocking therapy. Yep.
Yeah. This sad child, and you think, oh my God, I could leave this child, and I could just put these cigarettes down in the bin, and I don't have to take them up again. It becomes an easy decision then.
Yeah. With these things, I think the deeper the why is, the easier it is for people to realize what they are doing to themselves. Because if it's just about you, you are totally fine with it. Like, doesn't bother you. None of your business, right? But then when you start realizing what it does to other people that you care about, it's suddenly a different situation. So what would you say is the major difference between going for marriage counseling and working with someone like you who specializes in empowering that relationship you have?
Well, counseling is very often for a relationship in crisis anyway. And while I do sometimes have people coming to me who are in crisis, or they're sort of like a slight stage before crisis. They're like, if in another 2 or 3 years, we'll probably end up splitting up. Some of them are that kind of stage. And it's really just giving them tools and strategies and formulas, working very deeply with them to change habits that really have been making their lives difficult and miserable, and teaching them about how their individual patterns of communication can be so misinterpreted. I mean, I've done it myself. I hear my own, the way we even talk sometimes, except that we hear with a very finely tuned ear, and you'll be like this as well, Vera, that you hear yourself saying something. You might hear something that used to be said at home, like there's a phrase or something like that, and you think, oh my God, that's 1.5 phrases that, that's something I should never say again.
Yeah.
And they're so funny. It's like, sorry, what I was going to say is that coaching is like, it's like making everything better. You can take what's quite a good relationship and you can turn it into the most extreme. It's like the magic mushrooms of life. Turn everything into beautiful colors and flowers.
All right, that's a good title for podcast. The coaching is like magic mushroom.
Relationships. What I was going to say before, this is a point you went to before, and I thought this is quite interesting. I am a proper metaphor head, and I'm all about colors. And I'm in front of a brown background, which is a bit dull for me compared to your background. But when my father died, and I'm only sort of thinking about it, my dad was all about colors. So he loved rainbows, everything to do with color. He absolutely loved. And I remember before I went to Tony Robbins, I felt like, do you remember the old TVs, and you used to be able to turn the color and the volume down? I felt like it had been dialed down to about half. And and coaching is like that. It's like, get your color dial and you double it up. You can get the color back, and that's kind of how I see coaching, really.
I love it. Yeah. So if somebody considers to work with you, how does it look like? Do you work online? Do you have to be local?
No, it's pretty much all online now. I just love it. I love Zoom calls. They're just brilliant, apart from when they stop. But is such a rare occasion. It's hardly worth mentioning. But it's online is brilliant because I can connect with. I have people who coach in Canada. I have people who coach in Germany, and all over the world really. So it's so connected now. It's lovely. But I do have a free community that people can join, and they can get access to free resources and workshops, and then have relationship coaching questions answered, and that's a really lovely community on there. Yes, that's a Facebook community, by the way.
And I will put all the links to our show notes. Okay. So if anybody feel compelled to reach out to Geraldine, there'll be all the connections will be with the show notes at the episode. And I also want to mention, because you mentioned that you're running free event at the end of the November. It's called yes. Find the Magic in Your Tired Old Romance. That's a good title. How yes. does that look like?
Yeah, so that's a 5-day event with lives, short lives every day, so a live video every day, and there'll be some resources that I'll give away with that as well, and it'll be a little community of people that'll be finding the magic, just like you will be.
They don't want to settle for average.
No.
Yeah.
No. Let's turn the dial up on the color.
That's right. Yeah. And so are you encouraging couples to join, or whoever?
Couples or singles? I usually when I work with couples, I usually work with them individually, because I find that they are more relaxed, and you sometimes can have one dominant talker in a relationship, which is absolutely fine. But it can sometimes make the other person a bit quieter. So to get a really full view of what is going on in the relationship, I coach couples separately, and that works very, very well. And occasionally towards the end of it, you might let them go together, if they've been good.
Yeah, good. So I hope you have some sense and taste of Geraldine's personality that is really fun to be around. in her sleeping 80s kind of inner child coming through, for sure. And if you feel compelled that she would be the right person for you to maybe deal with whatever issue you want to deal with, why don't you give her a call or reach out? I will post all the contact information down below the show notes, and let me know how it went. Okay, I think Excellent. This was very fabulous. I'm sorry we had some issues with sound once in a while, but I hope it will be translatable. And it's far away, all over the ocean, so it's understandable.
I know.
Next time you come to States, maybe we will do another episode in person, and it will be much.
That would be cool. Yeah. As long as I can have the cat on my knee.
Right. Oh, she's not big lap cat.
No, she's not.
I don't know why. When she was little, she was, and then now it's if the queen is in the mood, that's the only.
Oh. Well, that's okay. She's okay. She can be a queen.
Yeah. Usually in the morning she's cuddly, and then for the rest of the day I may touch her if she allows me to. But okay. Yeah.
I'll have to bring my cat then.
Oh, I don't know about that. She is howling if she sees somebody through the window. That's the craziest sound I ever saw from cat. It's going like it's like she seriously is.
You're making her nervous behind
bitch. Yeah. She seriously is the queen of the house. There's nobody coming through. No. And once in a while,
so it should be.
I dog sit a big dog, and she hates me with passion for that.
Really.
Because when he's staying with us, she's hiding under the bed, and she once in a while she realized she can reach from behind and grab my head. And so sometimes when she's losing patience of hiding, she would go and scratch and reach my head. It's and I'm like, what are you doing? He's still here. He's on the bed. She's like, how dare you? So we love our cats.
I like that. I like that about cats.
Yeah,
they're very unforgiving.
Unfortunately, yes. Well, Geraldine, this was really a pleasure. I'm Thank you so much for devoting time to my podcast. I know you're super busy and we had a hard time to schedule good time for both of us, but we did. And I just hope that you will see a lot of people reaching out and listening to this episode and really liking your personality like I did.
Very much. Same to you, Vera. I'm sure we will talk again soon.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of the day. For you, evening.
Yes.
For me, just starting.
Excellent.
All
Thank
right.
you so much. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you.